Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Facing Psychological Safety. Still me this week. I hope that's not horribly disappointing. We do need to talk about some important topics, though. Last week, I wrote an article on the Future is Agile Other newsletter that was called, let's be honest, Nobody is Okay, or thereabouts, along those lines. And what it was trying to bring forth is the fact that we are living in a shared reality where no one is fine. We say we're fine, we have to seem fine, we go through our days, we make do, we are as productive as we humanly can, we work double hard, we make sure that we are not kind of upsetting anyone with our state of mind, but realistically, when you dig under the surface, nobody is truly and honestly okay. And kind of how could we be, right? We are at the tail end of the biggest challenge of our lives, a shared, common, terrifying challenge at that for all of us. And, most of us have worked through it, have worked during it. And the ones that haven't have also found it very difficult for very different reasons. But the stage we are at, the moment we are at, is one in which we more than ever need to stop again for a second and take hold and take accountability for what it is that needs to happen so that we can make sure the energy shifts. And if we look around, we are right now faced with a lot of burnout, but it isn't even comparable to the amount of burnout we are going to be looking at in half a year or a year. What's happening is there's a lot of what could be called latent burnout. There have been a couple of articles describing it as that, which is essentially people that have held on very strongly and are then going to kind of let go of that hanging on and start potentially disintegrating. Let's face it, burnout is not just a cutesy condition. It's not having a predisposition to be slightly more emotional than others. It's not a made up thing. It's not an unimportant part of anything. It's a very serious condition. It's one that now will plague a very big proportion of our workers. That's one problem. The other problem is, even if we don't arrive at a place where there's burnout, even if we don't go that far, what happens is we have got to spend some time figuring out what these last few years have meant for us, figuring out where we want to go next. And a lot of people have done a lot of that soul searching, right? After all, we've been locked down in our homes and or working crazy hours as key workers, and we have had ample opportunity for soul searching from many points of view, right? And that's partly reflected in the Great Resignation. But where we don't see it yet is where it provides us with a real path for from the point of view of taking care of ourselves, a real path for kind of self-care and self-respect, and the types of steps that we need to put in place on a regular basis so that we can see sustainability in our productivity, so that we can be at our best behavior and so on. So, kind of there's multiple ways of looking at this. I struggle to put it into one mold only, because as I said in my article yesterday, there is a multitude of experiences, and people have lived through what is simultaneously a shared reality and an incredibly different experience, because we have, each of us had, while going through the same events in a kind of global fashion, we have also went through a very personal time where, our brush with the disease was different, our jobs were different, our family commitments were different. So our lives have changed in different ways. So we all had very different experiences. So it affects us all in different ways. What I haven't seen a lot of is companies that ask people to take stock, to breathe in and come back to a point where they start discussing nothing but what does it take to be sustainable from here on? What does it take to heal, and what does it take to move forward? And as ever, the things that it takes are not very different than what we said before, because the kind of antidote to this and the things that we should see in place in any company that kind of is worth their salt and wants to stay in the game for the months to come are things like I said yesterday, empathy. We have got to find enough empathy, both for others in our team and ourselves. And again, all of this can and should be done at the team level. And then from that, at an organizational level, almost everything else is at an organizational level, because we have got to find the resources and the time to give these people what they need so that they keep doing the work. We have got to create enough psychological safety for all of us to come to the table and say, this is me, I'm really tired. I know I said I'm tired last week as well. And I know I've just been on vacation, and I know we've just had a long weekend, but I know that I don't have I don't feel like I have a runway to be tired, to be dejected, to be beaten up, to be disengaged, but I am. It is what's happening within me right now. So unless we create the teams where there's enough psychological safety for no one to be impression managing against looking unokay, we have problems. So we have got to get empathy, time and resources, enough psychological safety in teams for those conversations to happen, for that dialogue to be truly open. And then we also, obviously, at an organizational level, have to make sure that this promise that we're taking the human work seriously is no longer just one that's in vain or just a PR soundbite, but actually how our leaders feel, actually how our kind of shareholders feel, and everyone else. So if we are truly serious about the human work, it is high time we start showing that that's the case, right? We need big mentality shifts. We need organizational permission, time and resources, empathy, and psychological safety. And if we do get those things, the companies that have those things, just those 5 things, are guaranteed to be doing a lot better over the next few years, and to have retained more of their talent, and to have created a culture in which the openness is imbued and the care for humans is imbued. And those are what count. We should do away with all the conversation on employee experience. We should do away with all the rhetorics on vulnerability. We should do away with making managers show that they do any good, and we should do away with the lip service to the lack of command and control when we're allowing it. They're fundamental and urgent things every company should be doing. And I hate preaching to organizations. Anyone who has read or heard from me before knows this. I am not a big what should the organization do, because the organization is as real as Santa. But I am talking to leaders here, right? Whether you are the top echelon of some enterprise, or you're in HR, or you're manning a few teams yourself. If it is within your power to give people time and resources, do it. If it is within your power to mandate the human work to the point that it is compensated, do it. If it is within your power to allow teams to become autonomous and independent enough and enabled with enough tools and resources that they do the work on psychological safety, that they create an environment for empathy, and that they start helping you by fixing and healing and getting stronger and more resilient at the team level, then let them have that and help them out. This is not the time to be doing programs like it was 2003. This is not the time to be talking about big D&I topics like nothing has happened. This is not the time to be discussing employee experience in the terms of the 2000s. This is the time for true, honest, and big action. And more importantly, we need it. We need it tremendously, all of us, and it's worth asking for it. It's worth searching your soul and thinking, I, as a leader, can I give that to my people, or I shouldn't be here? I'm not saying everyone leave, although we've seen more and more people of the ones that we knew had their hearts in the right place do so. But I am saying find the way to make sure that these 5 things, empathy, psychological safety, time and resources, organizational permission, and the ability to make all of this happen from the point of view of the importance of the human work, that they are in place. again, imperative. If not, there are voices out there that are discussing the fact that we're looking at a much bigger version of the Great Resignation around the corner, and we are absolutely nowhere as productive and as high performant as we were before. And I don't think that any enterprise can afford to let their workforce be running at half the speed while dying, and just kind of carry on presuming that they are replaceable. So best of luck trying to get any of these steps in order. We're here to help as ever. Come talk to us. The software will help. It gives people the data, motivation, and the space that they can continue these conversations in terms of and continue this work on the human side of things themselves, which frees you centrally from having to do it. So yeah, come speak to us. We have learned a lot from the tens of enterprises we have, hundreds of enterprises we have been working with now, and a lot of those learnings will speed you up. So come speak to us. And meanwhile, if you're just listening to this and you're not a leader, mention it, say you need it, put your foot down, because it matters that you take care of yourself, take care of your teammates, and understand that you deserve these things. You deserve a place that gives you these few 5, 6 pillars of common sense and respect. So best of luck. We'll see you next week. Bye.